Hey guys, welcome back to Basin Motorsports. Canaan here, out working tonight on an underhood insulator for the wide body. Now on these cars themselves, you know that the OEM parts actually came with an insulator from the factory. And a lot of times over the years, they get really oily, dusty, dirty, and they start to fall apart. That was the case when I got this hood prior to me wrapping it and that. I got it out, sprayed all the rusty stuff after I cleaned it off so that way I can kind of see the black around it, and then the whitish is the original color. I want to go ahead and put an insulator in here, and that is a little bit because I want a little bit of sound insulation to get away from the tin can sound. I'd also like to do a little heat barrier between the engine and that and the surface of the hood. It already gets hot enough here. It already gets around 100 degrees in the summer, which is punishing to a wrap enough. But then to add a hot engine trying to push heat up, especially when you're out cruising around and that, I'd rather just try to kind of give it a little bit of barrier. Now, I don't really like the OEM ones. I know you can do them, and they will go right on here with some clips. Not a real big fan of them, but I wanted something different. So I came up with a couple options. So Design Engineering has 3 different options for underhood insulators. I looked at all 3, and there was 2 of them I liked, but I couldn't figure out which one I wanted more. So I just went and bought both. One of them is going to be a silver-backed piece here. Now if I show you, if I pull it out of the box, it is obviously adhesive with a foam. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick, and then it's got a reflective surface on here. So again, you would peel this off, stick it on, and then it goes there. This itself, it's okay, but I'll tell you what, after looking at the hood and how it's going to fit, I think option 2 is going to be better for me. Okay, so option 2 is a black hood insulator. Now it is going to be similar. It's got a peel off backing that you can stick on. Right there, nice and sticky. And this is more of a cloth material. It's not really a foam, but it's more like I don't know what you want to call it, blown insulation is all I can think of. Now it's got a nice black cover here, and this is more in line with the factory piece than would be a foam with a chrome or an aluminum surface. I think this is going to be a better fit. Again, I really don't want a lot of chrome on the wide body itself, so having a black insulator is going to go very well with the wheels and tires and everything else. To me, it feels like it's going to fit better in the overall design theme. So when you first look at it, kind of the material itself, one piece will most likely cover most hoods. I won't say all because there are some very large hoods like a truck hood and that are pretty darn big. All right, now the parts themselves are going to come in some different sizes. 2 of the 3 come in a 32-inch by 54-inch. So it's not exactly a square, it's more like a rectangle. The other one is a 32-inch by 59. Now the black insulation here I have is the 32 by 59. So the hood that I'm going to put it on is going to be about 42 wide and about 37 tall. So while the 59 would be great that way, the 37 going up and down is not going to fit in the 32, but it definitely fit in the 59. So in order to make this work, I'm going to either have to do 2 pieces if I want to cover the whole thing, or, you notice I have these nice reinforcements here and these cube pieces. What I'm going to do with this is that I'm actually going to cut that into 4 pieces, and then I'm going to put it inside here. Now when you look at your hood, what you'll find is that you should have these tongs here. Now the normal insulator actually fits in here, fits behind this, between there as a holding platform there, also on the top. And then you're going to have like these tabs here that have a hole in it that is meant to the insulator go over it, and then a push clip go right there and hold it in. That'll also go in down along the bottom, and you can see I still have 2 clips in there that I do need to take out because I don't need them anymore. So it kind of depends on if you're going to do this factory style. You would basically have these bent out. You would put the insulator in, and that holds it at the top, and then you put your clips in down on these here. So you can clip over there, clip along the bottom, and then it's quickly put in if you're doing factory style. All right, to get this process started, I went ahead and cleaned up the bottom of the hood. Now I just used some water with a little bit of dish soap in it, and it's actually from the bottle I used to clean the car prior to doing the vinyl wrap. In between that and the alcohol. Now you can go ahead after you cleaned it off. I used a green scrubber, basically a green Brillo pad, to clean that off, to scrub it up, get a lot of the oil and the gunk and everything else. Blue paper towel, blue shop towel, clean it all off. And then if you want to, you can also go ahead and use some 70% alcohol if you'd like to. If not, I think using the water and the dish soap with just a good real clean is going to give it a great surface to be able to go over. I can tell you, looking at it, it went from kind of dingy to a much better white condition than what it was. So I've got the first panel in there. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. Each panel you could take this, and if you wanted to use cardboard templates, you could do it that way prior to cutting your material. If you have an intricate shape, that may be a lot better option, but thankfully this one, really other than cutting a couple notches here and a couple corners, it's really pretty square. So the first thing I did was just basically measure the shape I wanted. Now it came out 12¼ inches tall by 19¼ inches wide. So I basically went to my material and I cut out a square. Now one of the great things about this material that I do like is the backing. If I hold up real close, you notice it's got a grid on it. That, when you're doing simple stuff like that, makes it fantastic to cut out a simple rectangle. 12¼ 19¼ Now you can see that I've also cut out some little shapes around the corner here and that's just to kind of fit out in these recesses. So once I cut my rectangle, I eventually then did set it in here in place where it was going to be. I started cutting where the rounded shapes need to be and where it fits. Make sure it goes up under this, and then basically cut it to shape. Now the really cool thing about this hood is that it's symmetrical. And it's basically split on the center. So this side here, if you flip it over, is the exact same shape over here. So you can basically make two of these, basically a top here, bottom there, and then you can take your originals prior to sticking them on, flipping them over on the new material, cut out a second piece, and again, just make sure that when you flip it over that you know like this rounded edge goes that side. When you cut your material, that it's flipped over to where the black is now going to be on this side. It's not an exact copy, it's an exact opposite. I'm just using a basic pair of scissors, using the grid and the shape, and once I get all four done, I can then just put them in. Very simple. This stuff is awesome. It's a PSA-backed material, and that is pressure-sensitive adhesive. What that means is once you pull off your backing, it's tacky, but it's not going to be really, really aggressive until you really push on it. So you can take it, you can kind of finagle it in place, get it to where you want, and then you can really wipe it on, and it will make it stick and stay very well. Until then, you got a little bit of room to kind of wiggle and jiggle it around. So let me get my other pieces done here, get my other piece cut, so I'll have my two tops, my two bottoms. Now we're going to get these babies put on there.
We about to turn it on.
Top two cut, I've got one of them installed. So this is installed. This one I still haven't done yet, so you can still see, you can pull it out. Now just be careful, even when you try to cut mirror images, you may find that something doesn't fit exactly. And if that's the case, take your scissors, just give a little trim. Remember, you should always cut a little larger if you have to, or if you're concerned you might not have it perfect. You can always start from scratch and do it perfectly for each little corner. If you do a reverse and it doesn't fit, give it a little trim, make it fit in there. Otherwise, it's going to go great. You're going to do good. Now, when you go to tuck it behind these edges, I'll tell you the adhesive is probably going to touch there and stick. So you're able to peel it up. Remember, it's tacky, but not an aggressive adhesive yet. So when you take it, just peel it up, kind of tuck it back in there. And if it touches the front surface, you can actually take your finger and kind of rub it off a little bit. It reminds me a lot of like rubber cement, where it's kind of tacky, but yet it's, you can kind of rub it and it comes off. So it'll come off, looks fantastic when it's done. I need to get, obviously, this one stuck up on there and then get these two measured, cut. We'll get those on there and then done. All right, so with the top two pieces now installed in there, I tell you, just those do actually make a really good improvement on sound. So I tell you, the top itself is far different sounding than the back. So if the back, you think about it, on the back, it's got like a tin can sound, right? You ever squeeze like a soda can? It goes click, 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 click. It's got a real hollow sound. You hear how solid it's tin canny it is, how much flex has got into it, because it really has nothing connecting other than the metal. So on the front up here, definitely a better sound. A lot more insulated. It just feels a lot more connected just with that extra piece in there. That extra material is really kind of absorbing all the sound, the tin canny sound. So once I get these back two pieces in, it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to measure it out top to bottom, cut out a square for each, fit it in there, and then I'm just going to hand trim each versus doing the cardboard cutout. Kind of up to you how you want to do it. Once I get both of those in, again, we'll do this again. We'll see. Is there a better sound than that? I think there's going to be a huge improvement on that. Okay, so there's the finished product of the hood. Both bottom sections now are cut. And these, again, were 19.5 or 19.25 width and 20.5 tall. That took up most of the rest of the insulator that I had left, so I cut squares. Then I had to round these edges up here in the top corner, in the sides, and then you've got a kind of a diagonal cut there. Now on these longer ones, if you don't feel real comfortable with using scissors, and because you're basically not cutting along the grid on the backing, I used a T-square and a razor blade. Very simple, just lay it on the ground, basically lay the T-square where I needed to cut. I just basically cut two reliefs in the material itself on the hood, so I knew exactly where the corner should be. And then it's a simple lay the T basically diagonal across the material to the cuts. Couple good section with the razor blade, and then some easy snips with scissors, and then going on. Now, a tip on putting this stuff on, it's pretty aggressive on the initial tack. You can still move it around if you need to and pull it back off, but if you're finding that you're struggling because you have a really heavy hand on putting it on, one tip I have from there is to just use either one line across the top, or maybe start in the corner. Peel it off in the back, use that in place, stick it, and then basically reach your hand behind the round and kind of pull the backing off as you work it down that way. If you watch the vinyl stuff, you've seen me do that there, where you kind of put in your permanent line where you're going to be pulling from, and it's the same thing. You can peel the backing off, wipe it down, peel some more backing off. That way you don't have to kind of rip the whole backing off and go in and get stuck all over the place. Just a little tip to help you out. All right, now, you will probably have some leftover pieces. This stuff is still good, it's still got the backing on it, so I'm going to save all these pieces. These smaller ones, you know, you might find a place, even in the interior, that you're like, oh, there's kind of some sound coming through there that maybe some of the boom mat, some of the rubberized stuff doesn't really fit, you don't really want to get in there. And you can always take this, literally with the backing too, you can always take this and put it under your carpet itself. Even if you're doing like the console trick I showed you, when I put the carpet in, kind of push the carpet up, this stuff is awesome for that. It'll stick in place, and you know, it's great. It's a great filler. One thing I did find on my Mustang, these big sections right here, oh, they got a new home. All right, so with all of it installed, let's do the sound check again, kind of see how it's going to be. Latch down there. Definitely better. A little bit up here in the top, still a little bit there. Otherwise, that is much improved over the kind of the tin can sound. With that stuck on there, it suppresses the noise, and the adhesive itself and all that really kind of sticking to it makes it really gives it that thud versus that ting, makes it that thud, which really is going to make a great ride when you got some engine noise, some other stuff. It will a lot of cut down on a lot of the sound. Okay, so here's the finished product on the trunk. Now, it only took me about 15 minutes to do this because you only had basically one cut here once you figure out where it was. And then you can also see right here on the wing, kind of the wing tips. Basically just cut a shape there, a little bit of notch around for the curvature and that. Now, if you're going to do these ones, just make sure that they're far enough inboard that your seal, your trunk seal down here, is going to have a good seal against the metal. You don't want the material in there kind of bunching it up and giving a water, I guess, entry point into that, because it will really soak into this material. Make sure they're just far enough inboard that you get a good seal around there. You don't have to worry about down here too much, nor up here, because the seal will come down up around here. So with that, guys, that is one way you can utilize a complete hood insulator, obviously for the hood, but some extra material if you want to use it for the trunk. Mustangs aren't exactly known for quiet rides and interiors, but I think something like this that maybe adds in probably less than a pound may actually do a lot for the trunk noise in the car itself. So that's it. Always check the description. I'll have some links down there for the material if you're interested in figuring out where what the best price is and where to get it and that. I'll have it down there. And if you have any questions on this installation, just let me know. Otherwise, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for watching and subscribing. See you next time.
Turn it on. Turn it on.